We are going to let a few people get on. Have some people try to find me. Okay, we've got some. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to give a few minutes for people to get on and find me. Hey, Jackie. Hi, Michelle. Okay. So let me know once again if you can hear and see me okay. Okay, there we go. It does look a little grainy, doesn't it? Oh, maybe not now. Okay. All right. Hey there, Eva, Sherry, Tissa. I hope I'm saying that right. Brenda, Debbie, Jenny. Hey, Miss Jenny. I saw you were back at work today in the office. Okay, so we've got some people joining. So tonight I'm going to be doing the watermelon surprise glass project. It includes some black outline, and I've got it kind of in stages so I can show you. And then it also has frit on it. It also has relief motif. And like I said, the black outline, and then the G series enamels on it. So that's our summer project. Someone suggested this and I don't remember who, so don't be mad at me. Somebody sent me, because I'm always telling you guys, you know, send me a suggestion what you'd like to see, and I'll try to put it on here. So I did put this packet and 2 other watermelon packets on sale on the website. So I'm going to pop one of them up on the screen here. So this particular project is now $9 instead of the $12.50. Okay. I wrote this, oh my gosh, when did I do this? 2010, so 11 years ago I did this. So I did a small one. I didn't fire it because I needed it in stages for you guys to see different parts of, instead of what's waiting for it to dry in front of us. Okay. So anyway, okay, looks like we have a good group. So hopefully Facebook will cooperate. I know there's been a lot of interruptions on different things I've been watching, and I possibly could be stalled right now. I'm not sure. Okay, well, it is on my end, so I wanted to make sure. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is switch cameras, and I'm going to go to my overhead. Okay. All right. So this is the project. You can see it was originally done on an 8x8. I've got it up on the screen there. Piece of glass, and like I said, I just did a couple of different versions of it, because you can always take the pattern and you know, stretch it and do different things. So the website is running at the bottom of the screen. My excuse me, my email is there.
You lost audio when you switched cameras. No, nope, you're good.
Okay, somebody thought they lost me, but hopefully you can still hear me. I'm trying to remember to mute cameras so we don't have overlapping and echoing and stuff. Okay. So what I'm going to do is hide that. And then if someone asks, so what I did, first of all, the website's at the bottom of the screen also. If you have any of our glass products and you're not on our private Facebook or closed Facebook group, this is the name of the group. You have to answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions, I'm not going to admit you. Okay. So that's just to protect the group, because there is, you know, people that just want on there. These are people that have invested in the product, and so they get VIP status, so to speak. Okay, Den says all good here. All right. Thanks, Jenny. You're such a tech wizard. Thank you. And I've got a couple other ones to show in a minute. So anyway, and don't forget, YouTube channel, be sure and subscribe. You can do a search on my name, Paula McCoy. You'll see the Colors for Earth logo. And be sure and click and subscribe and hit that bell. You'll be notified. We are broadcasting to YouTube and to Facebook Live at the same time tonight. Okay. All right, so once again, that's the project. So what I ended up doing was I did a little 6-inch piece here. I've got white glass, and I'm working on 96 COE. Okay, so I've got some of this all. I wanted to show you the frit on this one because when I start painting the other one, if I try to put frit on it, then the frit's going to fall into the wet paint and it's going to make a mess. Okay, so I did put the green frit on here, and I'll explain that when we get to it because there's a step that we need to do on that. Okay, so what I did was I took a pattern, and I know this kind of, well, you can see it darker. It looks darker for you guys. Okay, and I'm going to show you how I do the outline. Okay, so our outline comes, and this is an old bottle. I apologize, I didn't bring a new one in. The GO331 black outline, it's opaque. You do not want to cap it. That's the first thing I need to tell you. You need to fire and set that before you cap it, or you will get bubbles. Okay, so that's very important. It is a matte finish when it fires versus the glossy, like the black enamel that I have here, which is the G301. Okay, that I've filled in some of these areas already in different stages. Okay, so technically this is a matte, so I wouldn't put any type of liquid onto this. So technically the outline is not food safe. Okay, but if you fire it once, you can always come back and sift clear powdered frit over it and fire it again. Okay, all right, and Bert's on the, well, he's on the other side of the table and he's watching for questions. So if anybody asks anything, he will tell me and I will answer your questions. Okay, so the outline comes with just a regular flip top lid on it. So you take that off and you put our red cap enclosure on it. So what we do is take that little closure off with just a half a turn, and then you can attach any of our tips. Okay, now this is a pink one we have with our piping kits. There's different ones. We have a white, a black, a yellow. So they're different size openings. Okay, normally I use the black bent tip when I do the outline. Mine's a little bit older, so it's thicker. So I'm going to use a larger tip to finish doing this. So what you would do is put it over your pattern. I've used Scotch tape to anchor my pattern so it doesn't move. And now I'm going to attach my, you had a question, Bert?
Yeah, so you apply the liner, then you fire it?
No, I have not fired this. You apply the liner first, and then you come in and you start filling it in. So what I'm going to do is paint this tonight live with you. And then if you were not, okay, this piece has relief motif on it, and I can't tilt this sideways, but hopefully you can tell that the little center of the Black Eyed Susan is kind of raised. I can't tilt it. So you would not want to cap this because there's a big bubble there of product, okay? But if you want to make it food safe, then you would apply your outline, do all your enamel work, and then fire it. And you can go as low as 1380 on that first one, and then come back and cap and sift between and do your full fuse. This particular piece here is actually, I found a piece that was 6 millimeter. So this is double thick, 96 COE. And then I'll just use it as a little tray. As long as I don't have liquid in it, it's perfectly fine. If you're just going to set cookies in it or something, you can always put a little doily down or a napkin. It's as long as it's not liquid where you're going to be, getting product inside of that matte finish is all I'm precaution that we need to say. Okay. Den says bad mic. You can't hear it, Den? Sounds bad. Okay, hold on.
They're saying Michelle says feedback.
Okay.
You have to.
Nope, I don't have two open, but hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, so hold on. I'm not sure why the sound. 1 second. Let me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn off this. 1 second, guys. I got to turn off I turned off a speaker. That could be it. All right, so Jenny, tell me if we're back, or is it still staticky before I go any further? Pat says same thing. So, Den, you can hear me okay now? No static? Everything's good? Okay.
It says crackly.
Crackly still. Well, that's not good at all.
Still bad, still static.
Okay. Okay. All right. I've switched to a different camera. I was trying something different, but that may not work. So, can you hear me now? I'm going to put my piping bottle over the piece. No, I think they meant you did it, is what they were talking about. So, can you hear me now, Jenny? Hopefully. Still the same, still the same. No, not any better. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to change. I just wondered if that other one was doing it. Hold on 1 second. Okay, now. Can you hear me now? Are we there yet? Can you hear me? No help, still the same. But there's a delay, so yeah. Give it just a minute and then tell me. I can live.
Great, good.
Okay, so we're back, Jenny.
Better, clear, good, perfect.
Okay. All right, I got to work on that one then. All right.
Ta-da.
Ta-da, we're better. Yay. Okay, we're going to start over. Okay, so I use the black outline to start outlining this. I'm not done. I still have a leaf and the watermelon seeds. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Like I said, I attach the tip. So these red caps come in our piping kits. It comes with a syringe, the caps, and then 4 different tips. Okay, it's like $12. And then that way you can use them for different products, because depending on what the product is, if it's thicker like the paste, you'll need to use the white tip. Okay, so that may be a possibility. And then I use the pink and the yellow when I do the regular paste also. So it just really depends on how much you can squeeze, I guess would be the best way to say it. Okay, so always keep a paper towel and mist it with some water or dampen the corner. And that's what you're going to keep your piping tip into. And that's how you clean off your tip to keep any debris from attaching onto your piece. Okay, always squirt it out and test it. Okay, first. And let me see if I can, without any issues, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. Maybe. Okay, there we go. All right, so always turn your piece and make it comfortable. Okay, is the first thing. I'm going to maybe scoot this out of the way. And you want to be in contact with your glass. And I just moved the pattern instead of the paper. All right, so I'm going to do this leaf here. So you touch the glass and then start pushing. And I'm not adding the veining because it's too hard to go around it. So if you ever get a pattern, you can always add that on top with your color concentrates later. Wipe off that tip. Okay, so I've outlined that guy. Now I'm going to do the seeds. So what I did for this one to make it easier for you guys to see it versus this tiny one that I showed you earlier, I thought it was better if I enlarged this and then I just got a bigger piece of glass. Now, did you see what I just did there on the seed? I went half and then half again. Okay, because if you go all the way around, you're going to end up scratching off what you're putting on, and I'll show you that when I do the curly Q here in a minute. Okay, all right, so it's a good idea that way. If you've got your pattern attached with the Scotch tape, which I do right there, that way you can turn with the paper and you're not touching your glass, getting fingerprints on it. Okay, so if you've just joined us, what I'm doing is a enamel piece, Colors for Earth enamel. So I did half and half again. Now we also have the bridges. I think we're out of them at the moment, but if you have a bridge, this is a clear bridge that I can rest my hand over the top so that I'm not going to get fingerprints on there. So half and half. Wipe your tip on your paper towel. So it doesn't matter really where you start that, just so I don't have to turn it around. And then I'm going to just freehand some out there in the opening. So we'll just attach one here. And you can always scratch off if you have a little tail you don't like or something. You can always take a toothpick and scratch it off, or a Q-tip works really well also.
Can you use the outliner to fill in the seeds?
You could if you want a matte finish. So the question was, can you, I think you guys can hear him, but can you use the outliner to fill in the tips? Yes, you could. Once again, just do not cap this until it's been fired one time as far as the outline product, not necessarily this project, but the outline product itself. Okay, so I've got everything done now. Another little trick, if you can do it, I played with it earlier when I started outlining this. You can actually, if you've got a ruler that's got that little metal edge to it, you can put that ruler down and then run your tip down it carefully. Just make sure you don't smudge it, which I did one time and wiped it off. But that is a way to get a really nice straight line. But if you don't do that, then at least they're all the same, and there's not one that's really good and the rest that are wiggly or shaky. My students used to say, well, I'm really shaky. And I said, you know, if you shake the whole time, it's okay because they all look alike. So don't worry about it. Okay. All right. Kit, she mentioned. Jenny, what do you?
She put your piping kit up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So Jenny has put a link to the piping kit. If you're on YouTube, unfortunately, it won't let me do it on my Facebook personal page. If I would do this to the business page, it would. It will actually put the links up, so you can always find those on Facebook also. Okay, and you know what I did? I forgot to do that little curly Q, but I'm going to just fake it and show you. And this is like sticking to my, I have this rubber mat here, and it makes it hard to turn, which is good. So now watch what happens. If I come around and I go like that, do you see how it kind of, I think you can see this. It's kind of where it looks like it's almost scratched some of it off. Okay, so that's one of the reasons I don't recommend that you go round and round. Okay, so you want to do, if you're doing like grapes, go half and then half again. Okay, once you're done, which we are done because we're going to do all these lines on top, then with a half a turn, take that tip off. Either put it in your water container, your water dish, or go ahead and clean it. So I will show you how to do that because we may have some new people. If you're using it and or you're coming back and you're going to do more, leave it laying flat. Don't stand it up, because the minute you stand it up and go down, up, you end up getting air pockets in there, and then you get these little burps and it can make a mess. Okay. All right. So let me move this out of the way. I'm going to move this one over here a little bit and I'll show you how to clean that. And I just don't want to do it right over the top of it. Okay. All right. So I think you can see my water here. So here's the syringe. I'm going to pull some water up into the syringe. Okay. Attach that tip with a half a turn. Don't put any more than a half a turn on it because you'll never get it off. And then just flush it up and down until that tip is clean and moves the water freely. So don't do it just once. It does, the kit does come with a little green fuzzy, looks like a Q-tip. Okay, and you can use that to get in there and get any other residue out if you see some. You can also just take one of your brushes and some water and put it in there and get rid of anything. So just make sure it's fairly clean. Sometimes you can't get it all out of there. Okay. All right. That's done. Okay. So we're working with, before we do that though, before I get started painting, I wanted to show you, I'm getting ready to mail these out tomorrow. Here is the piece that I did on the ceramic brushstroke piece that I did the last time. And then I got sick. Sorry about that. So anyway, that one's ready to go out. There's the other one that I did live. And then I wanted to show you what the vase turned out looking like, because that had all the texture. And let me, one second, I'm going to go back and find this. Yeah. I was trying to get rid of that rolling across the bottom, and I'm trying to remember. I'll show them. There we go. Okay, so this was the lava stone. I put the color stroke underneath it, and then I told you when it popped open, you would see the darker color. So it's kind of cool. And then, of course, had clear, you know, over the design. And there's the inside of it. And I don't remember who won that, but all of these will be going out. I just wanted you to see that lava stone because that's kind of cool, the texture of that. Okay. All right, let me set these down and we'll move forward. Okay. Any questions? Thank you, Sandy. The texture is pretty cool. And there's basic information out on the website on some examples of color underneath that and color on the top. So, okay. So what I've got done up here is I've got some of my colors ready. And like I said, the packet is available on the website. And like I said, it's on sale. And then I also have a couple others. So let me show you this one real quick. So this is a ceramic version. So if you're a ceramist, or maybe you want the larger pattern, and then you can adapt it to whatever you're working on. And this actually has glass frit on the melon rind. I actually mixed it in with our terra firma. So that's a cool one. And then, so that one's called Taste of Melon. Okay. And the other one is called Summer Surprise. And this one has a square and a round. So the other one has, we'll go back to it real quick. So you have the full melons on that one. And this one is just more flowers and partial. And then you've got it's a chip and dip is what it is. And I made a square version and the round version. So those are available and on sale. And they're all, I made them all downloadable. Then on that other one you asked about the other day, I did go back and make sure it was all downloadable and not hard copies. So you can get those on the website. All right. Thanks, Miss Jenny. Hi, Bridget. That's right. You're the one that won that flower pot. So I will get everything hopefully shipped out tomorrow. As you well know, we had some weather issues yesterday and then a few days back, and it's just been crazy. All right. So I've filled in some of the yellow on the little black-eyed Susan. And the reason I did that is because I need to be able to show you what happens on top of it. So I've pre-mixed my enamels. Always make sure you stir them, and I'll show you how to mix the enamels in just a minute. I think I left one that I needed to do, but I want to go ahead and show you how to apply the color. And I can go to a side camera too if you think it will make any difference. So you guys let me know if you, I'm going to try to zoom in just a little bit further. That way it's close. Okay, so I'm using the number 1, I believe it is. This is the 455-1. It's just a synthetic hair brush, and it's the CFE class brush is what it is. I'm going to pick up some of the color, and I'm going to set that right there so you can see it. And I usually start in a large area. Don't start in your smallest area. And I'm just letting the color fall off of the tip of the brush. I'm not pressing down, you know, where it's going to thin out, okay? I'm just letting it flood on. Drop and fill, pool and puddle. Flood that on there. Oh, Vicky says, don't switch cameras. Everything's working well. Okay, sorry about that. I'll try not to. I just try to give you the best view possible is the only reason I try to do that. And I hooked up a new camera, and that's why the sound, I think, went crazy. Okay. So flood it in, start in a large area. And just because it's late in the evening, I'm going to use my bridge to kind of steady my hand. I tend to get shaky at night. I'm nervous. I'm in front of you guys live. I hope everyone, I know over in Atlanta, they were having some weather last night also, and then expecting more today. So I hope everybody is safe over there. I don't know if Robin got on or not. She's from that area. Okay. So if you have any questions, be sure and put them in the chat. Also comment. If you're new to this, we do give away, I have 3 items to give away tonight, 2 glass dishes and another DVD. Okay, so in this smaller area, okay, so what I did was I just wiped off.
Stacey wants to know what the bridge is.
The bridge is an acrylic plastic, I guess you could call it. It's an acrylic piece. You can make a wood one too. It's just this one is see-through. We had them on the website. We're currently out of them at the moment, but you could always build you up a couple of little books or some ceramic tile or something, you know, about on the ends so that you can reach over. Okay, so that's what I used to do. All right, so now I've got all of those filled in. Just rinse your brush in the water and wipe it on a paper towel to make sure that you get all that color out of there. Okay, so now we're going to do these flowers here, which are white, and this one. Let me do this. I'm going to put the picture, I think, if no, you can't see it. I got to wait till some of that's dry, and then I'll lay it over here where you can see. All right, so always make sure you stir that color up.
There's something you might want to look into.
What's that?
It says, been working with my enamels, but struggling to get the right consistency when mixing. It's Michelle Smith.
All right, Michelle. So I'm going to, this one is a little thick. I don't know if you can see that. It's not even hardly dripping off. So I'm going to add 2 drops of the medium. The key is, if you'll go back, and I've got 2 or 3 basic beginner videos on YouTube, and it shows you how to do the drip test. So once you mix your enamel, and I'm going to have to tilt this to the side so you can see, okay? You go in quickly and pull it out. It needs to drop by the count of 3, 4 at the absolute latest, okay? But you always, after mixing, you always want to wipe off that. If you still have product on there and you dip it in, then what's going to happen is it's a false drip, okay? Because you've got a bunch of product on there. Okay, so ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and it dripped. I don't know whether you could see that or not. That's why sometimes that side camera is good, but you get the idea. And I'll do this periodically and show you that again as I mix up each color, okay? And you can always call me here at the office, and I would be happy to answer any questions, or sometimes if you just talk out loud, it helps. We also need lemon peel number 322, and I'm going to test it too. Okay, so that one's a little, I'm having to scrape the bottom, so it's a little thicker.
We'll be getting the bridges back in stock.
I'm waiting to hear about them. It is one of Mark Hufford's products that we sell, and I haven't been given any notice of when and if he's going to. I think it all has to do with COVID, guys, and there's just the people are not working and doing, the norm. Okay, so this is the lemon peel and the white. So I put a little bit of white in here. I'm going to just dip, and I did not rinse my brush, into the yellow and add it right there at that center and kind of shimmy it back and forth just to blend it a little bit. Now I'm going to wipe the yellow off of my brush before I go back into the white. Okay. So I wasn't concerned about the white getting into the yellow because it's going to pick up just from the very tip. But I sure don't want yellow in my white. I hope that makes sense. And typically I tell you to do every other petal, and I just broke my own rule. So I'm going to do this one over here, and then I'm going to just wipe off the excess, grab my yellow, lemon peel, 322. Yes.
Is the outline dry enough that the enamel isn't mixing with it?
Correct. All of this that I did just a minute ago, it still looks a little dark. It'll look chalky whenever it's dry. That's why I did some of this ahead of time, just so that we wouldn't run into that problem. But it does take about 15 minutes or so for it to dry. You'll be able to tell. I don't think you can tell on this. This one is still a little bit damp, and it's usually it's just where the thicker areas are, and this was a little thicker. That one's dry, and this one's a little darker. I don't know that you can see that on camera. Okay. All right, so then I'm going to jump over here to this guy because he's white also. I'm trying to stay out of the camera view. Always start in the larger area, and I've just got a drop of color on my brush, and I'm just letting it fall off. And who was it that asked the question about consistency? Was that Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle Smith.
Okay, so Michelle, I lost my train of thought. On white, especially, sometimes it doesn't want to cover and be opaque, okay? And one of the ways to cheat on that is to paint a thin coat of white on the back of that area. Now, I'm not going to do that on this piece because it's double thick and you would get a shadow, and that just wouldn't look very good. But that is, if you're unsure on a light color, sometimes that's a cheater's way to make it opaque. Also work on a light board. I did not put a light board underneath me because all the lights and everything on the live, sometimes it makes it even harder to see. Did you have another question, Bert?
No.
Okay. Wipe off that excess. Then I'm going to pick up the yellow. And typically I'd probably wait just a little bit longer than what I did for this, but I'm just kind of feathering it up and down to kind of blend it and kind of make some lines that go up into it where it would look like a stamen coming out of the middle. And I know it's hard to see that with this lighter color, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing when I get to the greens. Okay. And what did I forget? I forgot to put the yellow over here. So I'm just going to come on top of this white real quick. Well, it's still damp. I can just shimmy, I call it, on top of it and feather it up. It's just a hint, Okay. All right, so we're going to let this dry a little bit. I am going to rinse my brush just because I don't want that color in there. Then one of the things I need to do is to, I'll show you how to do the black. And I'm going to get these seeds going here so this can dry. And what do? We always mix up our paint to make sure it's the right consistency. And I'm hesitating to do it over the top of here because I don't want to drop any crumbs. 1, 2, 3, 4. It dripped by 4. I think I'm okay with that. Okay, so when you do the seeds, again, it's not going to take very much. Just drop it down there and kind of pull it to the point. So if you have less on your brush, find a smaller one. If you need more for a larger one, then wait till you get more on your brush.
Does the enamel dry faster on float glass?
No, the question was, does the enamel dry faster on float
float glass. No, and float glass is windows, your window pane that you can buy at Lowe's, Home Depot. Okay, so it's going to dry the same on any kind of glass, any kind of surface that is vitreous or not porous. The glass is not porous. It just sits on the top. So it has to dry from the top down. You do want to make sure your enamels are dry before you fire them. Did you have another question?
Well, it says she works mostly on wine bottles, soaked wine bottles.
Okay.
And the enamels dry pretty quickly after she applies it, so she doesn't have much time to work with it.
Are you
due to not mixing it properly to the right consistency?
Who's this?
This is Michelle.
So Michelle, are you using our medium to mix with, the GM 300 glass medium? Ours stays open quite a while compared to, well, it's quicker than some of the others out there to dry, but where do you live, I guess, would be the next thing too. If you're in Arizona, California, where it's dry and hot, then they could dry faster. If you're where it's humid, like in Florida.
And Vicky asked her if she was working outside.
That's true.
And she said, yes, I am.
Okay, so if you're outside, yeah, you've got a breeze blowing, you've got the heat from outside, so that your environment can change.
South Carolina.
South Carolina, really?
Oh, wait, it says, but indoors when I'm painting.
Oh, okay. All right. South Carolina should be fairly humid, or at least it is when I'm always there in Columbia, South Carolina. And I will be at the Columbia, South Carolina show. That will be the first and probably the only one that I do this year. As of right now, I'm scheduled. It's a fire art show. So it's mostly ceramic, but I will have glass product there. It's in Columbia, South Carolina, October 1 and 2. So if you want to come to the show, if you live near there and you need product to save on shipping, then be sure and get with me ahead of time. Do you see how I'm just grabbing? I've got like a drop of color on there and I'm just letting it touch. And then I'm just touching the very top surface and pulling it to where I need it. So I'm not brushing out. So in other words, I'm not doing like putting it down and going like that, because that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get a smeared look. It's not going to be a flooded look when you put it down and then just pull it into that shape. Okay, so there's a difference between that and that. So if yours is drying really fast or not fast enough or too fast, maybe you're applying it too thin, and that's the reason that you're not getting the opacity or to make it opaque. Okay, so that could be part of that. So I don't know if that helps or not, but you're more than welcome to give me a call anytime and we can talk it over also.
And she is using your medium. So.
Okay, so you're using my medium, so it has to be the environment would be my next guess. Okay, so here I'm going out to every other check, and just pay attention if you're fairly new or you're having those issues. Watch how I load the brush. Look at how far I get. These are about 1/2-inch squares is all the bigger they are, and how often I'm loading. So I'm not trying to stretch what's on my brush. And the other thing is too, if you apply it, okay, let me do one. Let's see if I can get enough on here. If you're putting it down and you're having to push it, if that doesn't close up, so if you make a line and if the color doesn't close or merge back together, then it's too thick. All right, if you've got enough product on there. So it needs to come back together if you're doing any kind of touching of the glass. Okay, so I'm just putting down a little tiny bit. That's about 1/8 of an inch wide. This one's about 1/4 of an inch wide, and I can pull a little bit, but I'm still going to need 3 to 4 loads of the color for a 1/2 inch square. Think of it that way. Okay. And the best thing to do is, if you haven't made your chip charts, make you a little square like this. Either cut some squares or tape it off on a bigger piece and just do your samples of your colors that you have. And that will give you a good representation of how your application is with the product.
How often do you have to rinse out your brush?
How often do I rinse out my brush? Between colors, mainly. So not very often. So I switched it when I went to the black from the yellow. So I rinsed when I did the 324 yellow ochre on those black-eyed Susan petals. And then I waited till I did my yellow and white before I rinsed to go to the black. And sometimes if you're going from a light to a dark, you can wait and rinse your brush until you're done. It depends on how much, as long as you're wiping off the excess color onto the jar. Like right now, if I go like this and get rid of the excess and I'm going into a darker color, like from a lighter green to a dark green, I wouldn't even rinse my brush. I would just go to it. Okay, we got another question.
Can you put too much product on?
Yeah, can you put too much product on? Yes, of course. And you can get, it can crawl or open up, we call it. So if it's too thick, so there is a happy medium there. So that's why I suggest you make that color chart for yourself, because that's going to show you and give you a good idea of how heavy or how thin you are and how opaque it's going to look. Okay, so I would wipe off my excess and then I would rinse my brush because I'm in a dark color. Okay. All right, now one of the other things I want to mention, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to try to, I moved my cameras and let me see if I can. Okay, can you see, let me get my brush. Do you see that little tiny, it's like, I call it a little pucker. It's like a indentation, and there's one right there also in that color as it's drying. So what's happening is it's drying around the outer edge. So it's pulling. That's the only way I know how to say it. So where it's getting drier, then that is grabbing the moisture out of the other color, and it's starting to open and leave what I call a little hole there. I call it a dry hole. So when that's still wet or damp, you can go back in there and just add a little bit more of that same color. And then if it's too high up, like if you feel like you've added another layer of enamel, when this is completely dry, you can take and just what I call finger sand it. Now see this little tiny one, it's actually got a line all the way down the middle. So I'm just barely touching.
Can this be done on ceramic?
Can this be done on ceramic? It could be done on top of a fired glaze. So any surface, and as long as it's a flat surface, that's a key. Okay, so when somebody was talking about doing wine bottles, most people will flatten those first, and then, so it's not going to be any different of a surface than what the glass is, because it would be a fired ceramic. It'd be like a tile, you know, so it's already fired. So yes, you could do it. Have I done it? No, not a whole lot. I tested it, but I haven't done any of it recently. So I don't like the way this little, I may have to wait and let that dry, and then I'll take care of it with the tool. Okay, so I'm going to go back and get these other petals with the white. So we're doing pretty much the whole project live with you. Okay. Somebody, everybody kind of said they liked that. So that's kind of what I'm going with right now. We started out doing just information on products, but this seemed to be what everybody wanted. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And hopefully it'll spawn some questions also. So I'm going to add that yellow. Did you have another question?
Nope.
Okay. And feather that up. So I'm just skimming and just barely touching the top surface. and then rinse because I don't want to go back into it. My white with the yellow on the tip. Okay. So this will have to dry before it can be fired. Wipe off that excess white. I did not rinse. I'm going into the yellow. You could even add the yellow on top if you forget, which is, I'm going to show you how to add a darker yellow on top of that Black-Eyed Susan petal.
Sure wants to know if we can zoom out.
Zoom back out. I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry about that. I went over to that. Whoops. Wrong way. I always do that. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you for telling me. Okay. So I just completed these over here. There's a little bit of yellow that's starting to dry here. So I'm going to add just a tiny bit more there. So you can add, as long as it's thin applications, you can do some layering. Okay. All right. So we have two different types of leaves. These two leaves that are part of the flower leaves have a cerulean leaf and laurel on it. And then this watermelon leaf has, 322 lemon peel, and then the same thing, leaf and laurel. Okay, so two different leaves, just to show you some different ways of doing it. Okay, I'm done with these. Whoops, I just put the wrong lid.